When defense discussions happen in public, they almost always gravitate toward fighters. Which jet is faster? Which jet carries more missiles? Which jet looks better on a recruiting poster? But modern defense doesn't begin with speed or firepower. It begins with awareness. Seeing first, understanding first, and deciding first. This is where the Saab GlobalEye fits in. GlobalEye is not designed to win dogfights. It's designed to make sure dogfights never happen on unfavorable terms. For countries like Canada, whose primary challenge is geography, not expeditionary warfare, that distinction matters enormously. I'm your host, Pierre Shields. This is North America. Before we dive in, quick message. Since I've been out with the flu and didn't feed the YouTube beast for a couple of weeks, my channel is being ignored by the algorithm. Essentially, the only people watching right now are you, my mother, and my dog. So, hi mom, hi puppy. If you want to show some support, please share this video with someone you think would appreciate hearing from a sometimes snarky and pretentious, but mostly harmless, overly enthusiastic Canadian. Now, let's dive in. A short history of AEW&C. To understand why GlobalEye matters, you need to understand why AEW&C aircraft exist at all. The concept emerged during World War II when ground radar coverage was limited by Earth's curvature. Flying radar higher extended detection range dramatically. After the war, this evolved into dedicated airborne warning aircraft. During the Cold War, the threat of strategic bombers and cruise missiles made early warning essential. This led to platforms like the Boeing E-3 Sentry that we've seen everywhere, and Soviet equivalents mounted on heavy airframes. These aircraft were powerful, but there's always a but. They were extremely expensive, they were crew intensive, and dependent on large support infrastructure. They were built for superpower confrontation, not modern distributed defense. As threats diversified, for example, smaller aircraft, cruise missiles, drones, and irregular naval activity, AEW&C systems needed to become more flexible, more survivable, and more cost-effective. This is where the newer design, like the Erie-based platforms, emerged. I hope it's pronounced Erie. GlobalEye represents the third generation of AEW&C thinking. Its smaller airframe, better sensors, networked operations, and lower operating costs. Yes, please God, lower operating costs. It reflects a shift from brute force coverage to information dominance. What GlobalEye is. GlobalEye is an airborne early warning and control aircraft, commonly called AEW&C. Its purpose is simple to describe but complex to execute. It's there to detect threats long before they reach national airspace, track air, sea, and surface movements simultaneously, and coordinate defensive responses across services. It's a flying sensor fusion platform. Built by Saab, GlobalEye combines a long-range jet airframe, advanced airborne radar, maritime and ground surveillance sensors, and secure command and control systems. The result is not just a radar plane, but an airborne nerve center. Why this is not a traditional military plane. One of the most misunderstood aspects of GlobalEye is its airframe. It's not based on a military transport. It's based on a high-end, long-range business jet. Specifically, GlobalEye uses the Bombardier Global 6000 platform. The choice is deliberate. Long endurance, higher cruising altitude, excellent fuel efficiency, proven reliability, and lower life cycle costs. Also, it's a beautiful aircraft. For surveillance missions that last 10 hours or more, this is ideal. And for Canada, this design choice has major industrial implications, which we'll come back to shortly. The sensor core. At the heart of GlobalEye is Saab's Erie system. Unlike classic rotating radomes, Erie uses a fixed active electronically scanned array mounted along the top of the fuselage. This gives it extremely long detection ranges, the ability to track hundreds of targets simultaneously with what's going on with the drones is going to become very important, high resistance to jamming and electronic attack, and superior detection of low-flying targets. Low-altitude detection is crucial over oceans, ice, and rugged terrain. Exactly the environment Canada struggles to monitor with ground-based radar alone. Maritime and ground surveillance. GlobalEye is not limited to the air domain. Its maritime surveillance radar can track warships, submarines at periscope depths, commercial vessels, and small surface contacts. This is vital in regions where civilian and military traffic mix, like we see in the Northwest Passage. GlobalEye also supports ground-moving target indication, detecting vehicle movement over large areas. This makes it useful for Arctic sovereignty patrols, coastal monitoring, border security, and disaster response coordination. It's a multi-domain awareness platform, not a single mission aircraft. Command and control. Inside GlobalEye is where its real power lies. Operators sit at mission consoles that fuse radar, maritime, and surface data, identify and classify threats, share information in real time, and direct other assets. This allows GlobalEye to guide fighters to intercepts, coordinate naval patrols, feed NORAD or National Command Centers, and reduce reaction times dramatically. In modern defense, decision speed often matters more than weapon range. Who uses GlobalEye and why? Well, GlobalEye is already operational with Sweden and the United Arab Emirates. These countries have very different threat environments, yet both chose GlobalEye. Why? Well, it just makes so much sense. It's modular, upgradable, compatible with NATO and non-NATO systems, and, unlike other planes, is not politically restrictive. This matters for countries that value strategic autonomy. Bombardier's role. Now we get to a point that's often ignored in defense discussions. The airframe used by GlobalEye is built by Bombardier here in Canada. This is not a minor detail. If Canada were to acquire GlobalEye, Bombardier would benefit through increased production of Global Series aircraft, maintenance, repair, and overhaul work in Canada, high-skilled aerospace jobs, and long-term sustainment contracts. This is not offset theater. This is core platform involvement. Sovereignty benefits. Using a Canadian-built airframe means greater control over life cycle support, reduced dependence on foreign military airframe suppliers, and better domestic knowledge of the platform. In a world where supply chains are increasingly politicized, no kidding, this matters. Strategic signaling. Buying a platform that combines Canadian airframes, Swedish sensors, and allied interoperability sends a clear signal. To who? Whatever. Canada is investing in capability, not just alliances. Why GlobalEye fits Canada's defense reality. Canada doesn't face constant high-intensity air combat or large standing adversary forces at its borders. Maybe now. Canada does face vast unmonitored territory, Arctic approaches, maritime access points, and long reaction distances. GlobalEye directly addresses these realities. It extends detection range, reduces reliance on ground radar, enhances NORAD awareness, and supports sovereignty patrols. It's a defensive force multiplier, not an offensive escalation tool. GlobalEye versus traditional AWACS. Compared to older AWACS platforms, GlobalEye offers lower operating costs, smaller crews, modern digital architecture, easier upgrades, and better survivability in contested environments. Traditional AWACS were built for a different era. GlobalEye is built for networked distributed defense. Conclusion. GlobalEye will never be glamorous. It will never dominate recruitment ads. It will never trend on social media. But in real defense operations, it's often the most important aircraft in the sky. It sees first, it understands first, it decides first. And when paired with Canadian industry, Canadian geography, and Canadian defense priorities, it represents something rare in procurement discussions. A platform that makes strategic sense, not just political sense. If you value clear Canadian analysis without the hype, subscribe to the channel. Share this video with someone who thinks defense is just about fighter jets. And actually share with anybody. YouTube hates me at this point. And if you want to support independent Canadian content, the merch store link is in this description below. Thanks for spending time with me. Product plug. Thanks for spending time with me. I'm Pierre Shields for North Omega. Go play outside.